the sun goes down, when the sun goes down, I'll be a new man once again. When the sun goes down, when the sun goes down, I'll be a new man once again.
Hey everyone, Chris H. with Hometown Hero Outdoors. This week we're in Western Montana with our Army veteran Jeff Sexton, and we are also with our trip coordinator Jeff Carl. The person who put this whole trip on is Sean McLaughlin, our field staff out of Montana. This week they will be pursuing an elk. The theme of this whole video is essentially to talk about everyone's importance in their role and what they do, either as a veteran in the military or as a first responder. That everyone has a job and they are a spoke in the wheel. Please enjoy.
Light this fire again?
Fire it up so it's
Yeah.
kicking. My name is Jeff Sexton from Northwest Wisconsin. I joined the Army in 1989 as a welder. I was in for 20 years. I retired actually as a recruiter in 2009. I was 17 when I signed up, 18 when I went to basic. My first duty station was Fort Stewart, Georgia, which was a big change for me. Southeast Georgia, coming from Northwest Wisconsin. Hadn't been there very long, and they decided we were going to Desert Shield over to Saudi Arabia, where we spent 6 months, which evolved into Desert Storm, which we were a big part of the invasion of Iraq. After that, I went to Germany. I was there for 3 years. I went back to Fort Polk, Louisiana, and then they decided I needed to be a recruiter. I guess I didn't really feel lucky about it at the time, but I mean, it worked out really good for me in the long run. I got sent back to Wisconsin, and I was able to finish out my time back home, close to family, and be with my family for the rest of my enlistment, which a lot of guys have certainly not been so fortunate to do.
My name is Sean McLaughlin. I was in the Army from 2003 to 2006. I did my time in service with the 101st down in Fort Campbell, Kentucky. I am the Montana State Lead for HHO. So for this trip, we had a lottery submission, kind of a little different than our trips. We had to write up what would an elk hunting trip mean to you. So we had a bunch of different entries. We reviewed them together, and we ended up finding Jeff. After reading a submission, I just knew that was the guy I wanted to bring, and he was actually the first one first submission I read, so that was kind of special. And really my big thing was, I just want to get this guy out in the mountains, get camping for a week, go chase elk and deer, give him a little bit of taste of what I get to do every year.
I really didn't know what to expect. But yeah, first day out, where the rest of the HHO crew wasn't quite here yet. We got out in the mountains. I think Sean was kind of taking me for a little test drive to see how well I could manage a mountain walk. But we got up in the hills, and my lungs and my legs did pretty good. So I had time to do some exploring and decompressing while Sean was at work that first day. I mean, for sure, I was really angry. I really wanted to kill an elk, sure. But I mean, I'm a hunter. I've been a hunter for 40 years, my whole life, and I certainly know how it goes.
If nothing else, you're going to get a
but
new profile pic
it's
out of
been
this.
really tough. Everything I've watched, and I've watched a lot of YouTube videos about elk hunting, and all the pros that say, it's a very low percentage thing. I mean, elk are a big, scarce, elusive animal.
Small, an immature bull that doesn't know how to fucking use it. Bigger ones have that deep, bassy, long, drawn out sound.
is Jeff Carl. I was in the National Guard in the 142nd in North Dakota and the 777 in Nevada. My position in HHO, I'm the trip director on the board. So the reason I came along on this trip is because Montana is one of our newest states with HHO. And Sean hasn't really put together a trip before. This is a rather large trip, and I wanted to come out and make sure everything goes smoothly and have some conversations, some face-to-face time with Sean. So this trip has been an absolutely amazing experience. Being able to get up in the mountains and the snow-capped mountains and getting sewed on in the mountains and seeing the beauty, almost untouched beauty that's up here, I'll take that with me for the rest of my life. Yes, this is a pretty large trip for HHO, and it kind of seems like most of the Montana type trips are going to have to be that, because that's what they do out here is the big stuff. Elk hunting like we're doing, or mule deer, or antelope, or fishing in the beautiful lake that's in the middle of this valley. This is a unique opportunity for HHO to expand in.
Closest we've come so far to actually harvesting some game. It was getting on in the evening, light was getting low, and it was just a windy, howling day. I can't even remember who spotted the deer first, but then it said, oh, it's a buck. It was a young mule deer buck. This was pretty early in the hunt, and I said, well, I told myself, if I can get rock solid on this deer and get a great shot on it, I'll harvest it, Not a giant buck or anything like that, but that's nothing new for me. Sean ranged it at 265 yards, which to a lot of people would be nothing. Where I hunt, I'm used to shooting about 35 or 40 yards in the thick brush of northern Wisconsin. So 265 yards to me is a lot. The wind was howling, nothing to lean on but a rickety fence. I just could not get rock solid, where I felt like I was going to make a great shot on it. And I wasn't willing to take the chance on crippling that animal and making a bad shot. So I kept trying and kept trying. Eventually he got sick of us looking at him and he wandered off into the brush, and that was the end of that day. But would I have liked to take that animal? Sure. I mean, there's no mule deer where we're from. Any mule deer would have been a really cool trophy to me, but I don't have any regrets on taking an iffy shot. Well, the reason I wanted to come on this trip specifically was, coming out west and hunting out in the Rockies and stuff like that was something I've always wanted to do, like ever since I was a little kid, looking through, hunting magazines and stuff, and camping out in the mountains and hunting big game, these big majestic animals. I've been hunting in northwest Wisconsin my whole life, and for sure I'm not bored with that, but, see these giant animals, these big beautiful animals and the majestic scenery and everything, and always something I wanted to do. Whenever I'm off, I'm hunting or fishing or something, and it's always kind of goal driven. It's always like, we got to get up this, we got to go do this, we got to do that. Well, when I came out here, I had a few days before we even went hunting. I think like the first morning I was here, Sean had told me that they'd been seeing some moose down by the river near their house. I said, wow, that's cool. I'd like to go see that. And I just went down there and I sat on the riverbank and I cooked some sausage and tinfoil on a little stick fire and drank some coffee and just sat and watched the river. I mean, with nothing to do, no goals, no timelines, and just, I thought to myself, I really don't remember the last time I was able to just go sit and be and soak it in like that, The things I've seen and climbing mountains and sitting there and letting the wind beat the crap out of you and looking across to the next mountain and being on a mountaintop with sideways snow blowing, it's just stuff that very likely I'll never get to do again, and I never have before. It's just been huge. It's incredible.
Well, we chose Jeff, and I'm kind of glad we did. And what he said kind of struck me is that he thinks that there's people that are way more deserving to go, because for whatever reason. And I want everybody to know that's not the case. If you are an eligible member of one of those factions that we serve, that's what we do this for. In the military, there's very few people that actually do the hard stuff. The combat arms, the kicking doors, that kind of thing. This is my way to give back to those. And everybody else, because we were all in it and we did our job. whatever our job may have been, if you did your job and you did it honorably, and you're here with HHO, we want to take you out.
Nice chilly morning. Critters could sure be on the feed. Hopefully we stumble into something. New ranch today. Guy gave us access, no problem. Something good could sure happen.
You know, Jeff made the comment that I can't believe they do this for me. They do it for anybody. We want you out here. You deserve it. Sometimes people are nervous about that. You don't really need to be, because our staff do a really good job of making sure all the needs are met and everything is, you know, cared for.
We tried Wisconsin style, sitting on the food till sunset and freezing out. It didn't pay off.
How cold is it?
Yeah, it's got to be like 45 or 50, right? That's enough fucking bitching. Let's go. Jesus Christ. Over my life.
It's been amazing to watch Jeff work hard on this trip. And, you know, it's hunting. Everybody wishes they could have wrapped their hands around a big set of elk antlers, but it's not always in the cards.
I cannot say thank you enough to HHO and everybody who's done so much work to make this happen. I mean, I talk about me obsessing about my gear and getting ready and climbing hills and walking with weight and doing a whole bunch of shooting to get ready and get, you know, but that's nothing compared to what everybody else did to make this trip happen for me. And I certainly cannot say thank you enough. It's certainly not unnoticed. Like if you think there's some reason why you don't deserve to go on a trip or something like that, I'd recommend you get past that and try to put in for them. You know, these trips are out here for you. You should really try to take advantage of them. Throughout this trip, I mean, I'll catch myself kind of forgetting, like, wow, look at everything they're doing for me. The whole thing, this whole trip made me feel so humbled that somebody would do this for me.